He admits to cheating on his wife in court? Let's get into it. Let me set the tone properly. I am not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice. Everything I'm discussing today is based on publicly filed court documents, and any commentary that I add is simply my opinion, and opinions are protected speech. But what I am going to do is read this exactly how it's written and translate exactly what it means. Because once you strip away the legal language, the story becomes very clear. Let's start where this case actually begins, with the complaint filed by Jane Doe 1, who we know through the details of the complaint and her YouTube testimony that this is Gigi Rodriguez. So Jane Doe 1 files a lawsuit, and in that complaint, she lays out a very specific narrative. Not just that there was a relationship between her and Lovy, but how that relationship was formed. She alleges that Lovy Elias, a pastor, used his position of authority to influence her, as he did with all of us. Raise your hand if you relate. He used his position to influence her, not casually, but systematically. She says he convinced her to relocate, promised her a future, told her that he would marry her, and more importantly, told her that their relationship was approved by God. Now let's pause there. This is pure manipulation. That is someone positioning themselves as the middleman between you and God, and then inserting themselves into your personal life. And unfortunately, this is not rare. A lot of women have heard some version of, God told me you're mine. Before meeting Lovy, I also experienced this with a self-proclaimed apostle out of Arizona. The reality is, this isn't unique at all. This is a pattern where God said is used to fast-track trust, bypass boundaries, and create pressure simply to advance one's selfish desires. In a later filing from the plaintiff, it states my sentiments exactly. It's dangerous because when you attach God to your intentions, you're not just influencing someone. You're overriding their ability to question you, which she showed within her testimony, that this was a consistent behavior and tactic within the entirety of their relationship. This caused her to question her own discernment and relationship with God. Again, who can relate? Leading her into much confusion and torment. She also alleges financial dependency, travel tied to the relationship, and explicit photos being shared without consent. So that's the claim, and that's what this entire case is built on. Now, enter the defense. They filed a demur, which is basically legal language for, even if all of what Gigi says is true, it still doesn't matter. And their entire argument comes down to one word: consent. They describe this as voluntary romantic and sexual relationship that lasted for years. So their position is clean, simple, almost too clean. She agreed. She stayed. So there's no case, which is a very convenient argument if you ignore everything about power dynamics. Because the law doesn't just ask, did she say yes? It asks, why did she say yes? It doesn't just stop at yes. And courts have already addressed this. Barbara A. versus John G. and Hughes versus Pear. These are two actual California cases that have shown consent shaped by deception or influence isn't treated the same as real consent. Consent obtained through deception can be treated as no consent at all. Very important here with this case. The law recognizes something called fraudulent inducement, because not every yes is actually a choice. And that's where this gets uncomfortable, because now we're not talking about two equal people. We're talking about a pastor, someone claiming spiritual authority, someone telling people about what God wants for their life. So this isn't just a relationship. This is influence in a position where people are already listening, coming from someone people are already taught to follow, someone operating from a place and position that people already trust and look to for direction, who has established himself as one with authority over how people think and how people ought to be directed by God himself, as a self-proclaimed prophet or voice of God. He has positioned escalates. Many of you will remember that I have mentioned several times throughout this past year, some will testify and they will have the choice to tell the truth or lie in court. And here we are. In a filing of Jane Doe, it accuses Anisha Fernando of perjury. Oh, Anisha, we meet again. Your name keeps coming up. Anisha Fernando. Come to the front. The woman who confronted Gigi about her relationship with Lovy in 2024 after marriage, after his marriage to Maggie. Anisha Fernando, the one that pulled Gigi out of a service at Revelation Church, asking if Gigi and Lovy were together because Anisha spotted Gigi at the airport leaving on November 15th, 2024, as Anisha was coming in to see Lovy. According to Anisha, they intersected. And apparently, this is where Anisha felt to confront Gigi, spending hours on the phone with Gigi, going over the details, and realizing that their relationship was a copy and paste for several years. The exact same text messages, the exact same plans, many of times intersecting at the same places, keeping in mind he was married to Maggie. And we know from other credible sources that Gigi and Anisha weren't the only women outside of Lovy's marriage. But we'll get there. This man led Gigi and Anisha to believe that they were the only one. Also, there is evidence from other third parties where Anisha confided in those people about her heartbreak over his marriage to Maggie and then her pregnancy. And what would that mean for her and Lovy now that Maggie was with child? These are important details to note, and you will come to see why. Although, according to the conversation between Gigi and Anisha, she had stated that she asked many times about Gigi because she noticed Gigi was posting on social media because Gigi's social media posts were all at the same locations that Lovy was at the same exact time. Anisha, the woman that was present during the trip where Peyton was raped 5 times by Lovy's spiritual father, Passion Java. Yes, Anisha Fernando. So this accusation that she committed perjury is also not subtle in the least bit. Taking the hit and protecting somebody else. And if that is true, that is not loyalty. That is liability. Let this be no more. Let the truth set the people free from this deception that this man has carefully and methodically, in a pathetic attempt to cover his disgusting lifestyle, which is clearly self-serving, at the cost of everyone around him. You know, he likes to mention how this all affects his family and children, clearly to gain sympathy from the public and his congregation. Well, sir, your choices are to blame. It's time to take some serious accountability. That's what men do. And hopefully your sons learn not to take after your scandalous ways and end up being men in his own legal filing. We're looking at something very different. A multi-year sexual relationship that continued even after he disclosed he was getting married. So this was never just some past situation that ended when he made a choice. Because based on what's being acknowledged here in a court filing, there was no clean break. There was overlap. Using emotional influence, telling her that he was being forced and he didn't want to do this. That he didn't love his now wife, but that he loved Gigi instead. And that God will work this out and to trust him. Using his spiritual authority again and future promises to keep her invested. And again, those are her allegations.